You're listening to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, episode number 41. Welcome to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, a show anchored in reality to help you create a balanced life where you enjoy both your work and your life, because you don't have to choose. I am your host, Cecile Ferry, a corporate executive turned coach and working mom. This is your place for insights, advice, and tools to optimize your career direction, balance, and confidence. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the show this week. I hope you're doing well. Maybe you have seen the title of this episode and thought, this is just what I need right now. And I hope not. But if that's the case, just know a lot of us are in those hard times. So I felt like today it was important to talk about what do we most need right now. I actually realized the last couple of episodes have been dealing more with the life side of the Career Plus Life equation, but I think it is truly a reflection of the current times. Our careers still matter, of course, but where things are shaking up is more like on the life front. So I'm still here absolutely to help you navigate any career challenge, any career redirection, absolutely. But I'm also here to help you deal with life worries, with life troubles, events or conditions that are impacting your enjoyment of life right now. And if you haven't heard it in last week's episode, number 40, on What is this year teaching you, I have launched a new life coaching offer to support you. It's a simple, no fuss, high value offer of 3 sessions at a low price. So go and check it out at www.careercatchup.com/life-coaching in one word. And I'll link it in the show notes. So today I want to talk about strategies to help you get through hard times. It's not super fun, but it's super useful. It's important at times to talk about these bigger, tougher topics as they take a decent share in our life, let's face it, even more so in the current times as I'm recording this through the pandemic and a second tough year into it. But I tried to keep them with light and supportive, you know me. So we are talking today about hard times. I mean, real hard times. Things happening to you, mostly external things, like you lose a job, you lose someone dear, you are stuck in lockdown, having to hold a job and homeschool your kids at the same time. Maybe you have no money or no one to turn to. Maybe you have a health verdict that scares you. All those big things that bring up pain and suffering. Of course, I'm not here wishing for any of this to happen to you, but you may be in this situation and it is absolutely part of life. So I wanted to do an episode to support you with all the knowledge and tools that I have. I could tell you to turn to gratitude and to turn to what is going well in those times. True, these are very valid strategies. But they don't work for me when I'm going through really hard times. I'm being honest here. Maybe they work for you. I would love to be able to see the positive side and to be grateful for everything else that is working. But the truth is, most of the time, that is just beyond my abilities and I just can't force it. So I can either stay stuck with it and stay deep down in ache, or I can use other resources that shift the dial for me. And I'm not saying that I'm jumping to joy, no. It's more like bringing myself into a state of neutral place, into alignment where I can function and I can welcome better things. I was looking earlier today into the memory of my past, reviewing my past struggles and challenges. And I'm going to do a special episode on this because I did an exercise that was super powerful for me. More on that soon. But for today, looking at my past, I can say that I've had my fair share of heartbreaks, career incidents, health issues, losing people, parenting crises, failures in my business or in my studies. And I got through them with more and more resilience and strength as the years went by. So I asked myself, what tools, what strategies got me through if I had to share and teach them to someone? And that is where this episode is coming from. I've compiled 8 different strategies grounded in my personal experience to help with especially hard times. You don't have to take up all of them, just pick and choose based on what resonates with you or whatever sparks your interest. Are you ready? Let's go, people. The first one is to observe and feel. What? That doesn't sound like doing much. And honestly, it's probably one of the hardest of the 8 strategies I'm talking about today because it's the least practiced in our world. Nobody likes to do this. And it's never taught how to do this, except nowadays in some specialist primary schools. It's that mindfulness piece. This is like personal education on your own feelings. I think we can all pretty much recall what feels like joy, right? But when it comes to hard time, we easily tend to repress all of those feelings and squeeze them and push them down so we don't feel them at all. Isn't it true? Do you remember truly feeling hard things? Maybe only at times when the emotion was so strong you couldn't control it. And you couldn't take it, tie it into a knot and just chuck it far, far down yourself. But otherwise, we are pretty good at shushing our own negative emotions because it's so uncomfortable. Who wants to feel bad, really? Especially on purpose. But this strategy works. It helps us process our feelings, let them get through us. I can't tell you how many times I've asked clients who had been made redundant if they had sat with their feelings. Nobody does. So they fester and we don't know why we feel so bad. And then at the first opportunity where we get triggered, they come back up and we don't know why we suddenly had this intense reaction. It's because the feelings still sting us. So this strategy is about observing what you are feeling inside your body. You can take a body scan. You can actually find some guided meditations online for that if you want some help doing it. But you just tune in with your body and you feel those emotions wherever they are in your body. And you literally sit with them. You do nothing else. You might even find yourself having a really good cry. And that is a good thing. In essence, you want to process the feelings. They're like vibrations that need to get through your body in order to be released. So when things are hard, sit down, people. Sit quietly and feel your feelings. It's a brand new skill we all absolutely need. And this in turn teaches us how to detect, how to identify and manage our emotions. It's a huge skill for life and one we need to pass on to our kids. Strategy number 2, connect to your inner center. What is that, you will ask me? Well, in normal times, we tend to be connected with the external world around us and with our minds. We spend plenty of time there. We think, analyze, have opinions, make sense of what is going on, we question, ruminate, we talk, and so on. And when times are hard, all of those things tend to align with the hardship. We worry, we have anxiety, we feel stress, we try to fix things or to control them. But we have one main resource that we all forget to turn to, our inner center, which is in our heart. It gets forgotten through the madness, the stress, and all these external stimuli. But in our heart is peace, always. But we need to access it. And you connect naturally with it when you are relaxed, when on holidays, when playing with your kids, when being creative, all of those instances. It's hard for me to describe here on this podcast as this is something that really needs to be felt. It's like a knowing deep inside of you. It's like a supportive rock, a backbone, a place where only positive emotions live. There's a certain lightness and a huge sense of calm and inner peace. There is no mind chatter there. Have you visited this place recently? This really needs to be experienced to be understood. The best way to get there is by calming the chatter of the mind and connecting with your heart. It's easier to do through meditation, but you can also do it just by stopping, sitting yourself down, putting your hand on your heart, and simply breathing there for a few minutes. Your heart is always there, but we live lives where we are disconnected from it because of the complexity of the world, of the demands on us, on our time, because of technology and our super dominant mind. And in my experience, let me tell you, when times are hard, I have never found something external to soothe me fully. Nothing external will do. I might find temporary relief, but connecting with my inner center, my heart, does bring that strong sense of lasting peace. And it's free and it can be accessed anytime. So if you haven't felt this in you in a while, please give it a try at the very next opportunity. Sit down quietly and listen to that space, to that tranquility that lives deep down inside of you. And rest there during those hard times. It's a great way to replenish. Strategy number 3. This one is more concrete and practical. Don't push yourself further when you're not feeling well already. What happens is that we suffer as a result of something hard, and then life is still happening. We have work to do, tasks and chores and goals and expectations, all of that are right in front of us as we start our day. So our default mode will be to be pushing through, to oblige ourselves through what we have to do. Because otherwise we think we're going to feel worse on top of it. So we push ourselves when we don't feel well. I have done this many, many times in my own life and have learned that this is a sure way of making life harder for me. Now when I'm in a state of struggle, I no longer push myself. Instead, I give to myself. I look for some relief before I push myself to do things that require my energy. For instance, take this podcast. Some weeks are particularly challenging, and the temptation is hard to push on with it because I know people like it and wait for it, and I have my own expectations around showing up consistently. But I've learned that pushing through a task when you are low or struggling only compounds it. Not only you don't do your best work, far from it sometimes, but you increase your emotional load. You drain yourself further. Is it worth it? Rarely, in my opinion. So it is a rule of mine not to push myself anymore when I can't. In saying that, I am not saying this is a free pass to be lazy on the couch eating Doritos when you don't feel like doing something, right? You have to differentiate between having resistance to do something, for instance, not wanting to do it because it's outside your comfort zone, versus not feeling well enough to do something. Some weeks, I don't do the podcast if I can't. Today, I woke up not in the best disposition to do it, so I left it. Then I looked after myself all morning, did some light work, I went for a run, and boom, I felt so much better and I was ready to now do a great episode. This works much better in my book versus having pushed myself to do the podcast this morning out of duty, meaning just dragging my mind along the way for a frankly downward experience. Then I would have felt bad probably that the podcast wasn't my best work, and I would have felt bad most of the day. See how it's always in your favor to look after the energy you put into doing things? When things are hard, your energy is low at times. And then it's critical to really mind that energy rather than putting it to work. Otherwise, it's like trying to run the car on nearly flat tires and getting frustrated that it is doing a poor job. So don't push yourself further. Don't ladder up and compound the suffering. Stop, rest, look after yourself first. No prizes here for being a martyr, I'm afraid. You may have been taught that, but it is not serving you. Stop doing this to yourself, especially in hard times. Number 4 is about having the right balance and the right dance between prepping for battle and fronting up. Let me explain. When things are hard, we often have to do things that feel terrible to us or that we would rather avoid at all costs. What that means really differs based on the exact situation, but you may have to confront some people, do something you've never done, find solutions that seem really hard, and so on. There is no sugarcoating it. It is hard and it will feel very unpleasant, but we can do hard things. I think most of us are very unwilling to do it because we feel afraid in advance about how we are going to feel. It's like we feel the needle before it even goes in. In my experience, the best way to get through hard things is to front up to them, to stop anticipating the pain, because that is not achieving anything other than creating an even greater resistance and thus bringing us more suffering. Instead, if we decide to tackle the situation, to front up to it, we save ourselves a lot of the extra pain. The fear of some events or things happening is often worse than the actual experience of it. Have you noticed? So know that we all have that capacity to do hard things. Some have a higher one, but the fact is we all have that baseline capacity. Nobody is deprived of it or can't handle hard. We just have different tolerance levels based on our personality and resilience muscle. It's wired in us to survive, whether we like it or not. We are human beings designed to front up and to survive. It's in our DNA, it's in our intelligence. So I hope this gives you the courage to know you can front up to hard times. And just look into your past for proof that you can withstand adversity, hardship, and challenges. So that's the fronting up part. The other side that goes in tango with it is to prepare for battle. In my book, this means caring for yourself, building up your batteries in order to give and have them depleted through fronting up. I see this as being a tandem, a little dance of resting up, giving to yourself, followed by expanding your energy as you go through fronting up. And when times are hard, I recommend you do this daily. There is no point or prize for thinking you will push through everything and then give yourself a proper break. This doesn't work in my experience, because you push through worse, like I've just described, and then you collapse from exhaustion. Plus, you are so depleted, you cannot even think about what you need then. It's a bit like a soldier going to battle. You tend to yourself to survive the obstacle ahead, whatever that means. It may be having to sleep more, catching a break alone, going for a walk, and then you're ready to tackle the hard thing. The magic is in having the right dance between the two in terms of rhythm, frequency, and intensity. Harder, bigger things will require more prep from you. So don't wait until after the event to rest up. My advice is to rest up ahead of it. Number 5 is one my friends have heard me talk about a lot throughout the pandemic. Lower your own standards throughout the hardship. You don't absolutely have to, but you need to and you ought to. And I am the biggest learner here. Let me tell you, I hate having to lower my expectations and my own standards. It kills me. I love my standards, right? But I know now that in times of hardship, those standards work against me. They make everything worse for myself and often for others as a side product. So what I'm preaching here is that you make some changes to make life easier on you and anybody else concerned. I have tried not making changes and I ended up burnt out or feeling out of my mind. Now I drop things. Literally, you have to drop things. In French, there is a saying called lâcher du lest, which means, like an air balloon, you need to drop those bags of sand in order to get up. That is precisely what you need to do. It will feel wrong, sometimes even unacceptable to you for a while, and your guilt will kick in full force, all those protection mechanisms because you are going against yourself. But on the other side is more ease. Which would you like? More ease or more hardship? And I've learned that dropping my standards, A, doesn't mean it's permanent. You can go back to the way things were pretty quickly. And B, that it's actually not that bad. I'm yet to have suffered an important consequence as a result of it. Maybe a good indication that these standards were maybe after all a little unnecessary. So if you are a perfectionist or have super high standards, you will take double dose during hard times because you won't want to bulge. You will want to conquer them your way. So here I want to be your most caring and loving friend and tell you that you are being your own enemy. And I want to gently force you to do whatever is required to get you through with more ease. My friends do this for me at times when I can't let myself off the hook. I literally ask them to tell me. It's often easier for other people as they don't feel the weight of your own expectations. So it's okay if your house does look messy for a while. It's okay if your kids are watching way more TV or don't follow their routines. It's okay if you buy yourself some time or get some help. Hard times call for exceptions to the standards. The quicker you do this, the better you will feel as you navigate through the challenge. Please, please, please give yourself that golden permission that you may be refusing to yourself. It only makes things harder, I promise. Nothing bad will happen. Number 6, do something nourishing for your soul. And that means something that feels like love to yourself. It's not a quick band-aid where the relief stops the minute it's done. It's about giving to yourself. It's different from turning to things like emotional eating or drinking, for instance, because these are not love. They are just a way to escape the pain. And don't worry, I'm just like you. I feel like these things too when times are hard. But I know they don't nourish me really. I'm left with the same pain afterwards. Instead, we can do things that truly refill our internal cup. And this is very different from one person to another. For me, I like to buy myself flowers, or I typically buy and eat some French products that remind me of my childhood and my roots. Or I cook something delicious that I know I really enjoy. Or another thing I like to do is get myself a really nice cup of tea and wrap myself up under my blanket on the couch. So what is it for you? Maybe it's doing your hair or doing your nails, having a facial or taking care of your skin, maybe having a massage if you can. I might be reading your favorite book or watching something that relaxes you deep down. It's not super obvious sometimes to know what these things are because we have lost the habit of doing that. We give to everybody, and then we have our own expectations to feel happy afterwards. But we don't proactively think of ways to feel more inner joy on a daily basis. Like typically we rely on external things to give us joy. But during hard times, those external things are not giving us any joy whatsoever. So we need to turn to inner joy. So it has to be extremely pleasant. It has to be at the core of who you are, something that turns into love for you. And don't expect or wait for anybody to give you this. It's best you remember what feels good to you and that you just do it. How often do you need to do this? Only you know. It depends on how you feel. You might need this daily in the hardest times. Number 7 is a bit left field, but it's one that works really well. It's called EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, EFT. This is also called tapping. So you can go and Google it if you're new to it to learn all the details about it. And I'm not trained in this technique, but what I can say to you is essentially what it does is using your fingertips to tap on acupressure points on your face. And then these points activate the meridians which are connected to your nervous system and then regulate your energy. So overall, it is a very soothing, stress-relieving experience. and also works great for physical pain, I've heard, though I haven't tried it myself. It's very easy to do. So you talk about your emotions and the situation aloud as you tap on parts of your face, and then you continue and start reframing your feelings as well. I started trying this years ago, and I often forget at times this tool, and I can go a few months without. But every time I go back to it, I feel a shift in my state of well-being. I always feel better. So this may sound a bit woohoo for some of you, and it kind of is, but let me tell you, this works. And many high-profile coaches use EFT in their own life and incorporate it in their practice. So if this sounds interesting to you and you would like to check it out, I recommend here an absolute global master, in my opinion, for EFT, who is on YouTube. His name is Brad Yates. I'll put him in the show note. He's the nicest guy, and it has hundreds of free EFT videos online. So you just have to watch and go along with him, tapping and repeating what he says. You can search on YouTube for EFT videos dealing with any situation you might be facing, like tapping after a breakup, tapping for money worries, tapping for stress or sleep issues. Brad Yates has released videos on pretty much every possible topic. It takes 10 minutes and can deliver immediate, effective results. You just have to keep practicing it if you are going through a sustained period of hardship, for instance. But definitely something worth checking out. Strategy number 8, finally, and I've left this one for last because it might not be for everyone. Actually, consider this as completely optional. You can choose in those hard times to stop relying exclusively on your own strength and to welcome the support of a higher force than you. You may be spiritual, religious, have beliefs about God, spirit, angels, the universe, whatever you choose to believe in. That faith in something bigger than you comes in very handy in challenging times where you need that top up of support. And you can surrender your challenges to a higher power, offering them up, asking for help and strength. As I said, it's totally your call to believe in it, but you can try and you can see how you feel supported. I am not a spiritual teacher. I myself on this journey of opening myself up to the belief that there is strength somewhere outside of me too, and I try to put this into practice. Sometimes this feels harder or easier, but I know this helps thousands and thousands of people get through hard times. And I'm not saying abdicating your belief in your own strength and relying exclusively on an outside spirit figure or God to get you through. In my experience, the two combined work best, and it always starts with you first. It is also my experience that this spiritual support or guidance works better than relying on other people, which can be very unpredictable. Some people will be assets to help you through hard times, but others won't and might make it worse. A spiritual presence, on the other hand, is always on your side if you choose to tune into it. That is your personal choice. You can start with just being curious about it and see what resonates with you. There are plenty of videos and resources online. It's no coincidence, really, that many people start a spiritual journey in specifically hard times, like after a loss or recovering from a very hard situation or illness. Here, if you want a recommendation, I would link in the show notes Gabby Bernstein, who is a spiritual teacher. She has written many best-selling books and has a very good podcast called Dear Gabby. So you'll get all the links in the show note. She teaches people in very simple terms how to be human and to be aligned with a higher force. That is all I have for you today, my friends. Thank you for listening. I hope this episode has given you some powerful suggestions to start implementing in your life straight away to feel better. To recap, those 8 strategies were observing and feeling your feelings, connecting to your heart, not pushing when you're not well, having the right combination of rest ahead and fronting up, lowering your standards, doing something loving for yourself, trying some EFT, and opening up to spiritual guidance. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be very grateful if you could please leave a review on iTunes so more people can find this show and be inspired too. Feel free to also share this episode with anyone in your circles who could benefit. It's been my pleasure to be here with you, and I hope from the bottom of my heart that you can navigate whatever hard times you're currently facing with more ease, more inner peace, and more self-love. Have a beautiful week. I'll chat with you soon. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to find out more information, you can visit my website at careercatchup.com. There you will find blog articles, free resources, a self-study course for your career direction, and ways to work with me. It's at careercatchup.com. I hope to continue to connect with you and support you. Talk to you soon.